Hey there, I'm Decoy Deloy, and I'm taking a break from answering your emails to give you the scoop on the latest music news. It's a show we're calling Music News, if you haven't figured that one out. And it's brought to you by Hello Merch, where there are no contracts and no hassle, just sweet, sweet merch by artists for artists. This week at Hello, we are pleased to proclaim that we've got people under the stairs in the house.
Right now on the mic tonight, young handsome brother on the disco hype. Got the butterfly collar and the skins to match. 10 crates in the booth, got a break to catch. Skills needed to apply, dress chic, you'll be denied, pay to cover and fly. Everybody.
The legendary hip-hop duo of Christopher Portugal, a.k.a. Thes1, and Michael Turner, a.k.a. Double K, was founded in Los Angeles in 1997. Though they released their final album, Sincerely, The P, in 2019, and Double K sadly passed away in 2021, you can still carry the torch for their underground sound with this gear up for pre-order. Hoodies, shirts, hats. Get 'em. 2024 sees Thes updating the PUTS site with new photos, archives, and rare behind-the-scenes footage, and this new shop will fuel his commitment to make more music, just like it should be. In other news, the weird post-pandemic state of the music industry continues to surprise. And last week, I was shocked to see that one of my favorite festivals around, Desert Daze, has canceled its 2024 edition. Organizers have announced that the music festival has been canceled due to rising production costs and a volatile festival market. Believe what you want. Believe what you want. Are big festivals a thing of the past or just in flux? Call 1-877-WASTOIDS and let us know. Last week, I asked for calls about the Oasis reunion, and y'all didn't disappoint. Here's my favorite.
Yeah, listen, Oasis sucks, okay? Nobody should like them. They dress fucking stupid. They're a bunch of crybaby bitches who can't even get along with their own family. They suck. They belong in Shrek movies and fucking Hallmark made-for-TV commercial bullshit. Oasis.
I only wish the caller told us how he really felt. And all right, to close, you could call them one of the best power pop bands ever, or the best grunge band ever, or one of the best punk bands ever, and somehow all of those things would be true. Whatever you want to call them, Redd Kross are legends. Formed in 1978 in Hawthorne by Jeff and Steve McDonald, while Steve was still a preteen, Redd Kross has been on an absolute roll lately. On June 28th, they released a self-titled double album on In the Red Records, packed with chiming anthems and rock and roll hooks. Then, there's the new documentary, Born Innocent, The Redd Kross Story by Andrew Reich, and, coming in October, Now You're One of Us, The Incredible Story of Redd Kross, written with Dan Epstein. Here at Wastoids, Redd Kross are major inspirations. Our very own Sam Means got together with Steve and Jeff backstage at the Valley Bar to discuss the new album and movie, the band's ethos, Charles Manson, the Beach Boys, working together on the format's Dog Problems, and their Beatles covering side project, Tater, Tots.
Hello, I'm Sam. This is Wastoids, and we are here with two absolute legends, Steve and Shane McDonald, Jeff McDonald, Redd Kross brothers. We're at the Valley Bar in Phoenix, Arizona.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Wastoids.
You better stay away from downtown. You better stay away from downtown. You better stay away from downtown.
We're here because, this is the year of Redd Kross. 45 years. That's
And we
It's the 45th year of Redd Kross.
But it's also
year of Redd Kross.
It took 45 years to get to the year of Redd Kross.
It did.
A slow climb.
Fair enough.
You have a incredible self-titled double record. You have a really cool documentary film by Andrew Reich.
That's true.
That I was lucky enough to see in Brooklyn. Amazing. It was hilarious. It solidified my stance as Redd Kross is just like one of the coolest bands of all time. And you have a book. You have a book coming up.
In the fall.
Dan Epstein.
Yeah, Dan. Either one. I'm sure he
Okay.
answers to either.
Okay, and that's coming out in October.
That's coming out. Yeah, October 8th, I think, on Omnibus Press.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm curious. This is I'm calling it the Arcade Blitz. This is just an incredible showing of the band, an incredible showing of the band's history, and an incredible showing of that the band is still very much alive and shredding. So how has the reception been from longtime fans? I'm sure there's many generations at this point. And are you discovering that there are new generations discovering Redd Kross from this year?
Well, I noticed that little kids love our new album. Any parents that play it for their kids, they put it in repeat. So that's a really good sign.
So we were hoping that our record would be like some sort of a gateway.
Yeah, not that the record is for children. It's just children seem to like it.
We're trying to hypnotize the children.
Yeah.
But people have been very forthcoming with compliments. But maybe they're just blowing sunshine up my ass. I don't know.
No, believe me, they wouldn't bother.
They would. With my beautiful ass? What do you want to blow sunshine
No,
up
it's
my
not that.
ass?
It's just like, you know how it's like hard to get anyone to like,
Yeah,
you know.
people are busy. They don't have time to blow sunshine.
I now have a 14-year-old daughter, but when she was younger,
Yeah.
I actually couldn't remember that this was from a Redd Kross record, but in my head, there was this thing that was just like, pretty girl,
Oh,
pretty girl. And I used to say that to my daughter, and I'm like, I don't know where that's from. But it was always in my head, and so it just became this sort of like meme of our family.
And you
Okay,
know that
I
it's
don't-
a Charles Manson.
That's a Charles Manson song.
I never told her that. She'll find out maybe now. But
Poor Lola. She was getting Charles Manson songs as lullabies as a child.
let's talk about Josh Klinghoffer.
Okay, let's talk about Josh Klinghoffer. Yeah, well, Josh is our producer on our newest album.
And our drummer. He played drums on every song.
Yeah, right. So he did a lot of instrumenting and
Instrumenting.
yeah, that's a new word I just made up. Instrumenting. Josh Klinghoffer is a fellow musician who's played and he's had this kind of crazy career, having played in the Red Hot Chili Peppers for 10 years, and now he's currently like an auxiliary member of Pearl Jam. You know him from when he played on a Format record, I believe.
He played guitar on at least one song. I know he played on Time Bomb.
Right, played on Time Bomb. Yeah.
No, he was in Sparks, actually.
He was in Sparks with me.
He's in Sparks.
Yeah. So that, because what is that? 2006. Yeah. So he was still just a scrappy kid that I brought into the studio one day. And,
It made me feel
oh yeah, how did you feel about that?
I just was like, I don't even know I'm going to play guitar ever again.
Oh no! Should we give a little background? Okay, so we're talking about so many different things, but I've known you for quite a long time now.
20 years.
Yeah, almost 20
Pushing
years.
20, as I say.
Right. Okay. So in 2006, I produced the Dog Problems album for your band, The Format, and it's true. So we were just talking about Josh as a producer, but if you go back 20 years, I used to be a producer. I've done my best at trying to record things, or not recording and being like the vibe guy.
Right.
Which I was kind of the vibe guy on Dog Problems.
The most important
I did
guy.
my best at old school vibe guy. But Josh Klinghoffer, that would have been when you first met him, because I was the vibe guy producer and I brought in my young ringer.
He's like, oh, well, we'll bring in studio
Sam
guitars.
was not excused from the studio. I think I was asked to come on, produce, do something.
You brought in some big guns for sure. You brought in Roger.
Oh, Roger Manning came in.
You brought in.
Yeah, I mean, I think all these things were. It was clear to me that you guys would be open to this, or that you actually wanted me to do such a thing. Yeah.
So I was excited to hear that Josh was working with you on this record, because since I've run into Josh a couple times, I know I've been following his career.
Yeah.
Very cool dude. How was that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a total collaboration. I mean, it was like we've all known each other for so long, and it kind of felt like we were when we were doing basic tracks. It was just Steven and Josh and myself. It was just kind of like. I don't know, it was very natural.
It was our own little bubble. And we started with the song Born Innocent, which, going back to the documentary that you referenced, we were asked to do a title track for the closing credits. And the filmmaker, Andrew Reich, asked if we would write an origin story song. And so we quickly went into the studio. We wrote this song together, Jeff and I, and then we quickly went in the studio. I didn't even know that Josh had a studio assembled. I hadn't talked to him for a little bit, and he's always a very busy guy. Anyways, and Dale was having back surgery, Dale Crover of the Melvins, and he plays in Redd Kross too. And so, and it was just a spontaneous thing that went really, really well. We've worked with people sort of as producer, but it's always we never really handed it over in any way.
We never found any kind of musical mentors.
Yeah, we never gave it up to them. And then with Josh is interesting because he's 13 years younger than me, and yet he's so much more accomplished than both of us. So it was a cool dynamic where it was in some ways we have done more than him, but in many ways he's done much more than us. And so, holding half of a 1/4 of a band through like, stadium tours and things like that. It felt kind of like a kid brother that was also like, had like seniority in a weird sort of way. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah,
but
like the cousin.
yeah, he was the kind of cousin Oliver who you respected a lot.
Right.
He was very talented cousin Oliver.
Yeah.
I'm trying really hard to not compare him to Mike Love. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I just watched a Beach Boys documentary, and
Which one?
I don't know what it was called actually.
Oh.
I was playing. I was on Tubi. I don't know if you guys use
I know
Tubi, but I
Tubi.
started watching a San Francisco punk rock documentary, and then we just let it keep playing.
Yeah.
And like a ska doc came on, and then some Beach Boys thing came on. I can't remember what it was, but
Wow.
And is this pro Mike Love, this stuff? Because it isn't always
it was not.
pro or
It wasn't
pro-
really pro
or
Mike Love.
con.
It
It's
was
neither.
They were all in it, so it was an official thing. At the very end, they all got together on the beach. They were sitting somewhere and
All of them? With Brian and Mike?
Yeah, with Brian was there too.
How long ago was it?
Was it the 90s, like when Brian?
No,
made
this
his-
was probably within the last 10 years, I
Oh.
would guess. And it was interesting, but you could tell you could really feel the tension, sort
Right.
of. Not so much with Brian because he's just kind of like a sweetheart and
Yeah.
doesn't know what's going on, but Mike definitely, you could tell, is kind of grinding a little bit on
Well,
the inside.
yeah, because Brian was the genius; he gets all the credit, but Mike is the one who's keeping it together as the Beach Boys,
Right.
battering about all for all these years.
I thought that Carl was the one who really kept it together.
Well,
as a
Carl's
Beach Boy.
been gone for
I
many
know.
years.
Oh, you're talking about since post.
Yeah,
Carl.
so like when they did a reunion, they were gonna do a reunion tour a few years ago, but I think it fell apart. I can see where Mike would be bitter though. Could you imagine like you don't play with like one member of the group for many years, but you still keep the name going, whatever, and then all of a sudden you have to step down a little bit and kind of share the power. It would be very difficult
with Brian.
with anyone, with the rest of the band. Like, okay, we're going to return back to the natural Beach Boys, like the real Beach Boys,
Right.
the artist Beach Boys, not just the county fair Beach Boys. So like it'd be difficult to kind of just share, I think, the power. And that's why I think people hate Mike Love, but I think he's probably fine.
Then I know that another fun fact about him was that he was with the Beatles in India at Rishikesh.
Yes. We do a show called Click Vortex where we talked about a lot of those things, and I found a really cool photo of everybody there, and the colors are really beautiful. And they're all
Yeah,
sort of
I've
set
seen
up
that,
like a Sgt.
right.
Pepper kind of a cover.
Yeah.
It seems like that, and yeah, you can see that. You can see everybody who's really there. It's
And
really-
Mike remained I think he still is a devotee.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
oh, he
yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah, but he was even sporting like the Jesus look on like there's a 1969 Beach Boys British tour, and he has the full on white robe.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to me and you? Twin flames is dark. Twin flames is dark. You said you love me. 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 Twin flames is dark.
Let's talk about family and music. This is, I have a 14-year-old daughter. I brought her up a couple times already. I am just desperately hoping she ends up in some sort of fun, artistic world. Your daughter, Astrid, fronts the Side Eyes.
Yeah.
Incredible band, really cool band. I think recently put out an album not too long ago after a little bit
Yeah,
of
a
little
year
bit of a break.
last year, right?
Last year,
Yeah,
I
we
Yeah.
were label mates on In the Red.
Yeah, so how does that feel having your daughter go into the business? And I'm sure the business has changed so much even from when you were 12 and you were
Right.
15 or something, and then she sort of starts to
but
show interest in that.
Their world is really weird, and it's very interesting for me because they are kind of like they are a hardcore punk band,
Yeah.
which is very much like I was always like battling the hardcores, and
In your mind. or in
yeah,
real
yeah,
life?
and I really I think they're great, and and it's just that it's a different world.
Did they open your mind to the joys of hardcore?
Yeah, they did open my mind to the joys of hardcore. I finally understand it. All my friends, all my record collector friends, I have so many that are big hardcore record collector fans, and I'm
Fans of hardcore.
Yeah, and like Steven and I came up in Los Angeles when hardcore first started in California, and it was like. It was really kind of a bummer because it was the first bit of violence to our newfound movement. You know? So we stayed bitter. I know I stayed bitter for years, but now I get it.
But you like the Astrid is.
But I like those the hardcore bands that I hated and the people that I hated. I like now.
Wow.
I was a teenager, so they were like my peers. So I would have total hatred for some of these people.
Are you relieved that she's in a creative environment with an outlet?
Yes, definitely.
Did you suspect she would? I mean, as she was growing up, did you think that would happen, or did you think she would become a doctor or something?
No, she always wanted to be. She always wanted to sing and be in a band. And she has a really good voice. So she, like in her hardcore band, it's very just aggressive and screaming and yelling.
But she does really well.
Yeah, but she does really well. But she actually has a really good melodic voice as well. So so I don't know. Even right now, they're like, I can't deal with this. So they're on hiatus.
Okay, well, let's go back to the hardcore stuff, because I had a question and an observation. Like, once I started, I'll admit I didn't know a lot about Redd Kross before I met Steve. I did a huge deep dive, and as I heard the stories as the nights went on, I was just like, wait a second, you're like
you guys massage the stories out of me.
No, but yes,
or would I be all too willing to?
I mean, there's nothing I love more than a good
Sam,
story.
have I told you more about me? Let me tell you more about me.
There's nothing more I love nothing more than I love than the Steve McDonald story. But after watching the documentary, it shows how you, I guess by design, sort of always rode just under the radar of the scene or the era of music that you were in. So when you came up in the hardcore scene, which is kind of crazy to think about. I mean, you were so young, and you had bands like Black Flag and Descendants, and you look at these old, you'll see old flyers, like, one of you guys will repost a flyer, and it's just like, that show was crazy. Oh my God, like, that's insane. But I was just telling him earlier, it's like, and this isn't a nod on you guys at all, it's just that, like, you see a lot of maybe Black Flag logos on leather jackets on St. Mark's, but maybe not a lot of Redd Kross ones,
Yeah, we've never stuck with one logo.
Right.
Yeah, we haven't been that good at branding.
But then even going into the 90s, there was like the grunge scene, and you were sort of part of that world, and there were some bands that broke out, and then there were some bands.
I did just see recently that we were name-checked, like, a couple years ago in Pitchfork for the top 25 grunge records of the 90s. We did
as you should be, and when you watch the documentary, you really see how present you were there. But it's like at that time, bands like Jellyfish even were sort of doing. You weren't going with the grunge style and the grunge vibe. You were kind of doubling down on the like 60s and 70s psychedelic, which was so cool, and it's what made you unique. And I think what ultimately makes Redd Kross. And when you do become a true fan, you appreciate that so much more, because you see, these guys just stay true to what they really want it to be, instead of sort of playing or catering to a specific scene that you're in.
I would be much too lazy to cater to do what someone else wanted me to do.
He's not a caterer.
Not a caterer.
No, just it would be work,
right.
know. And I mean, it is work, but
it's skilled work. It's more like, would you know how to cater?
No, but is it that it's too hard to cater, or you wouldn't even know how to cater? Well, no, then I wouldn't have known how to cater, because if we came up in a time when we first did some of our first major label record, we had Bon Jovi expectations,
right?
And we had
we did, or people had
no, they put them on us. So like it's like, what? I'm halfway there. No, so I mean, we just always stayed with like whatever the underground scene was, or who's playing in clubs, and if it would be like original LA punk rock, and then hardcore. Then in LA we had like death rock and early goth, like the birth of goth. I think is actually partially in Los Angeles. So there'd be these weird shows. It'd be these heroined out death rock groups playing with like hardcore bands, and then with like the Minutemen, and then like Redd Kross or something. Yeah, it was just like that for a year. So we just kind of were able to kind of just.
Yeah, and you crossed over into the hair metal stuff. I mean, like
we did play with Poison once.
Okay.
Probably the same year we played Poison was the first year that we played with Sonic Youth as well, which I think is a fun distinction.
Yeah.
And then I don't think anybody else did that, but. Yeah, I mean, I think it's also like when you're talking about the early hardcore stuff and talking about like Black Flag T-shirts or tattoos, or even like those bands like Black Flag, Circle Jerks, they were like really good at branding themselves. They were like early on it, and they were very like marketing
They were
people.
older than the kids. So
They were older than
Right.
the kids.
They were like the monkeys.
and they set their sights on a very specific demographic. As like if you see the Circle Jerks logo, I mean, I think that that kid's skanking. I
Yeah.
think they went like, that's it. That's exactly who we want to connect with. And I think when they found Henry
You think
Rollins,
they were thinking that through at that time?
Yeah, I think definitely.
We knew those people.
I think when Greg Ginn was on tour and he came across Henry Rollins, he was like, that's exactly who we want in the front of our band. We want all the kids that want to be that guy.
Right.
But again, like a band like Black Flag, especially later in their career, I think what made them interesting was that they were trying to do something that they were completely failing at.
Right.
But doing
Later.
but creating something interesting and
Well,
that
it's
as a
funny because
byproduct.
with Black Flag specifically, yeah, like Greg and the branding and the record label and that whole thing is really all that kept that together. If you look at their Wikipedia, they probably had 47 different members at that time. Like, all these different singers and things. So that the idea of Black Flag, the concept of Black Flag was working, but maybe the music and the identity of the music wasn't. Whereas you guys were focused on that and just kept on.
Well, we
pushing
had
through.
inside scoop since we knew these people. It would like Black Flag. One of their records that they made was just like their really dirgy album that a lot of fans really like. It's called My War, and it's a very aggressive, slow, and just like it's thought of as one of their sleeper
kind of proto-sludge.
their sleeper records. But what they were going for and what that record sounds like, they were all into Dio. They thought that they were making a Ronnie James Dio
Ronnie
record.
James solo, Ronnie James
I'm
Dio
not
solo
kid-
record.
I am not kidding.
Yeah,
and that's what that was the result of trying to be Ronnie James Dio. That's what they came up with this weird
And in a lot of ways,
sludge rock
okay,
record.
you know what it's sort of like? This was sort of like,
Which is great.
Here's my comparison. Like that story that was in the news 10 years ago, that nice like cleaning lady, she was like, there was some church in Europe and there was an old fresco that was really faded, and she just she felt so bad she needed to fix the Jesus.
The Jesus monkey Jesus.
Yeah,
Jesus monkey.
and she inadvertently created a new kind of Jesus. Monkeys.
But the Jesus
She
monkey,
created
people
a
line
monkey
up to
Je-
see the Jesus monkey now. They travel to that town.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think that's what My War was. It's sort of like Black Flag was trying to be like a heavy metal band, but they were actually making their own Jesus monkey.
Creating real art in the
Inadvertently.
That's amazing. So, in a parallel universe, would Redd Kross spend more time marketing, or 45 years later, do you look back at your career and are you proud of it just as it is?
Well, I mean, I think we were always marketing, but we were marketing to like invisible people.
Oh, no.
That's kind of what we do at Wastoids.
We were creating a world that we wanted to be a part of.
Which included a lot of confusion.
Right.
So, like, if you're trying to crossbreed marketing strategy and then confusion, we were awesome at it.
But we were great. But that's good.
Yeah, isn't that
Keep
kind
them
of the
guessing.
coolest? Isn't that the most punk rock thing you can do?
Well, we were reactionary.
We were coming from so many bizarre
But we were
influences.
kids, It's like I think about like I was just whatever. Like I reference, I don't know why I've got a thing up my bonnet about this, but like talking about the Circle Jerks logo, for instance, it's like the idea of like, yeah, that skanking kid. That's exactly what that we want to connect ourselves to that. Like we would have just immediately like felt so uncomfortable with anything like that. Any kind of classic labeling or any kind of like.
Well, it's restrictive, sort of. It kind of puts you in a box, yeah.
Uniforms and various.
And so that's kind of like, so we didn't calculate anything. We just had a very reactionary, knee-jerk reaction to anytime anybody tried to do that to us, we would immediately rebel.
I think that's incredible. I mean, I truly think that's incredible. I think it's really cool.
Sure.
I can see it in your many eyes. All this attention is making you high. You know it does.
Film and TV projects. I love Spirit of 76. I think that one came out in 95 or something?
No, it came in
96?
90.
Oh, 90.
Yeah,
oh,
it was
so
filmed
it's
in 90,
oh,
but
right,
it came
so
out
it's
in
coming up on the
91.
30, I
I
guess, the
thought it was,
35th
did
anniversary.
we make it in 89?
89, 90, it's all a blur, but
Yeah.
it's around the time of Third Eye.
I always
And
think of it as like an 80s movie about the 70s.
but it's actually well, it's the tail end of the 80s. It's like it's more like how 1969 is more like the 70s.
Wait, yeah.
It's like 1989 is more like the 90s.
Right. Okay, cool. I love that movie. I also really enjoy the Bitchin' Ass series.
Oh,
the web
wow.
series.
That's going
So,
deep.
Yes.
Bitchin' ass, bitchin' ass, yeah, bitchin' ass.
You turned me on to that, and I still reference it. I still have that song pops in my head all the time.
Well, so we should explain. Bitchin'
Great.
Ass was a very early sort of proto webisode.
It was
way
one
ahead
of
of your
the
time.
very first
way ahead of your
webisode.
time.
So it was Jeff was doing a weekly or monthly episode.
Yeah, whenever I could get the gang together.
And we would host on our own website, redcross.com, and it was Jeff basically. Well, this is another example of our marketing strategies. Jeff was the band was on hiatus at the time, and Jeff was spending time with this creative project that he called Bitchin' Ass, and it was the story of Redd Kross as told through internet web episodes, and he was creating new history of us, and in his version, on the Bitchin' Ass version, Redd Kross had actually been a Christian rock band all
Yeah,
those
we were
years.
a Dove Award-winning Christian.
Yeah, Dove Award-winning. Jeff had gone deep into the Christian rock world, and he knew certain things like the Dove Awards.
Now
And
you name drop people like Rebecca St. James, like the Alanis Morissette of Christian rock.
Michael W. Smith was a huge influence.
and he was explaining to his followers of the show that the reason we were on hiatus was because Jeff wanted to make secular music, and I didn't. I was really upset about this change, this new direction.
And then we thought, well, look at Rage Against the Machine. They're communist and they're exploding. So yeah.
Yeah, that was one line. Jeff said, all those commies, they have all the cash.
Okay, I got one more question, one more deep cut.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Tater Tots.
Yeah, that's not covered in the documentary. A lot of people were disappointed in the documentary for the omission of Tater Tots.
Well, if you're gonna, there's going to be the movie "The Many Lives of Bill Bartell," and he was like,
heard about that. Yeah,
he was the center of the Tater Tots. Yeah, I guess he was the emperor.
He was the prime mover, the
yeah,
emperor,
of the Tater Tots.
King Tater.
He was. You can't really describe Bill, but in a he was just like,
well, first off, he's
passed away,
passed
but
away.
he was a practical joker, very brilliant, very demented, and any weird idea, like for me, when I was, we were really good friends, so any weird idea I would have, all of a sudden he would make it happen.
He would run with it and then badger you with it. Like you would in passing go, yeah, I like Tater Tots. Tater Tots, that's a great name for a band. And then next thing
we
you know,
should make an album that I said something to him about Linda McCartney. I love Linda McCartney, and like when we're talking about Yoko and Linda, and like we should make a band that's just a tribute to them. And then
so you said that.
Yeah, I
you
said that. Then
coined
he ran with it. So he's responsible for all of it. That was just an idea. And then, we got anyone of note out of our friend group to perform on the, like people from Frightwig and Pat Smear. And
it's also back in the
Curry.
monoculture when it's like it wasn't so easy to you couldn't just like tweet to some famous person to get their attention. It would be more like you'd have to meditate on these people and to will them into your life.
And he got Yoko into his life in a weird sort of way. At least he acknowledged him, and Yoko and Sean, and another one of our big influences for the Tater Tots was Os Mutantes, the band from Brazil.
Yeah.
Well, that was Bill's sister in the 60s. Their family hosted someone from Spain.
No, I thought it was Brazil.
No, they were from Spain, but they had the Os Mutantes record. And so Bill grew up with it. And so he rediscovered it, started turning us onto it. And when we would go on tour, we'd have tapes of it. Then other people would have tapes of it. And it just became this
of the first Os Mutantes album. That was in the mid-'80s.
And they ended up getting back together, and they're still together now.
Yeah.
But, and then, of course, Bill spread the word to Kurt Cobain, who when he was in Brazil, at a press conference mentioned Os Mutantes, and he also said something to the effect of like,
He's friends with Redd Kross. He's a very nice guy. He has a mustache.
Okay, well,
that's like I've seen footage of this Brazilian press conference.
But that film is going to be really good, so.
I can't wait to see that. Actually, I heard about that today. I read about that, actually.
Yeah, the many lives of Bill Bartell or something. He was someone who had many, many lives, and we only knew each of his friends knew one little aspect of his personality.
But for like Wastoid viewers, you might know his band, which was called White Flag, which of course a reference to Black Flag, and he was constantly kind of like a thorn in their side.
He was trolling them.
Yeah. Trolling. He was a proto troller.
Awesome.
Proto troll.
And there is I did manage to find it was for a Click Vortex episode we did a few months back. I think it was Beatlefest 1988.
Oh yeah.
There's a video of I don't know if you were
Jeff's
there.
not in it.
I'm not in
You're
it.
definitely in it. Bill's in it.
Jimmy McNichol,
Yes.
Chrissy McNichol's brother,
Yes.
happened to be there, and Bill got him to play for
Well,
him.
no,
And
we
you sort of got
we
kicked
summoned
off
Jimmy
stage.
McNichol.
Yeah, but it was Jimmy McNichol who had to be at Beatlefest, right?
No, he was not at Beatlefest already. We brought him to Beatlefest. And he played floor tom. And we managed to weasel our way onto the sort of last event of the weekends long Beatle convention.
Beatlefest was really huge in the 80s, and it would be, a 3-day weekend. People would stay at this big hotel in downtown, and there'd be thousands of people in the room where they had up the Beatles sound-alike bands. Was I would say a couple thousand people. In the
that was like
audience.
the grand finale of the whole convention.
Yeah.
Because the most of it was just like record collectors trading, and you have like amazing bootlegs and things like that, and memorabilia. But on the Sunday, there would be like 12, the Battle of the Beatle Bands would be the classic thing where they put their hand over, here's Shout. Everyone would, here's P.S. I Love You. And people applauding.
I'm sure the group that went on before the Tater Tots was probably love me do. That was like,
it was like P.S. I Love You. But and then I just remember and then next up, the Tater Tots.
and the audience
Which sounds so cute, and then you get on stage and it's completely different.
Well, but the worst thing, like Yoko Ono was considered to be like, she was like, it was taboo,
Right.
that during the 80s Beatle revival, and people hated Yoko, they hated Linda, and of course, that was the perfect.
Well, so that's what we did. We covered a Yoko Ono,
Don't Worry,
Plastic Ono.
Kyoko.
We did, Don't Worry, Kyoko,
Yeah.
which is like a 12-minute blues jam, and then Yoko's just screaming her brains out inside of a paper bag or whatever, and so that's what we did, and we really outraged the Beatle community. And so then we eventually released it as a 45 because, of course, Bill recorded it.
Awesome.
There's video of, I've seen it on YouTube.
And once again referencing instead of Plastic Ono, instead of calling it, like there's the Live Peace in Toronto record, we had Live Hate at Beatlefest.
They pulled the plug on you.
they pulled the
Everyone was
plug.
like 1,000 people booing you.
Yeah, we had. Yeah, our life was in jeopardy of like we were possibly going to be trampled by 3,000 nerds. Oh, the only other Tater Tot story I was going to tell was sometime kind of towards the end of Bill's life. Excuse me. I know he had like there was some Tater Tots 45. And he had this artwork that was a replica of Revolver, but it was 4 Yokos. So like the pencil ink drawing, the Klaus Forman drawing, but it was done all Yokos. And Bill had wormed his way into the world of Sean and Yoko at that point. And I know he sent the artwork to Sean and Yoko to ask for permission. I don't know that he needed it, but is this okay? Are you guys okay with this? And all I know is that Yoko had said to Sean, "Oh yes, Sean, Tater has always been a big fan of your mother." So
That's such a good quote.
Yeah, I love that.
All your stories have some sort of like incredible quote that ends it.
Tater.
Where's Steve? I remember that. There's many. There's many.
Lies.
Yeah,
Where's
there's
Steve?
many. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. And
Yeah.
thanks everybody.